Apparently they're
the student
not
observation.
videotaping
I know
the
exactly.
open reading.
And then the world broke out of
So there's no sign up. They just kind of like jump
So
up.
I think we're about ready to get started, and first I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight to ACC's Literary Coffeehouse for March. And in just a minute I'll be introducing our featured reader, David Thornberry. We have a couple of more events coming up this session. We have another Literary Coffeehouse here on April 9th, and then again on May 7th. We'll finish our season. And there's the big Visions and Voices reception. Is that a public event, Holly?
Yeah,
It's open to the public. What day is that?
it's April 13th, Friday, the 13th.
All right.
At
Is it-
Eastview campus at 7 p.m.
And this is the big party for the AISD ACC collaboration called Vision and Voice. I did it backwards. And we do a judging of poetry from students in all the grade levels. And I got the chance to judge K through 2 this year, and it was a lot more fun than you might think to judge K through 2. So my name is John Herndon, and I like to start these events with a little icebreaker, and I was thinking of a couple of poems that I thought might resonate with David's a little bit. I have this little poem called Stone Age, Neo and Paleo. I'll hedge this round with due scholarly caution, excluding geological formations, the vaster strata, batholiths, dikes, and seams. The age of a rock, qua rock, a single stone, a boulder, cobble, pebble, gravel, is inversely proportional to size. That is, the smaller a stone, the older. In laying down these scavenged limestone flagstones, I'm giving them distinguished company. These river rocks remained who knows how long in ancient beds washed by running water before the dredge exposed them to the sun. The quartz is polished to a smooth, matte finish. The fractures in the flint are dull and blunt. Please help these younger stones with good advice, or silently bear witness to the strength required to persevere so long, despite the worst the universe can throw at you.
Beautiful.
That, like many of my pieces in recent times, has come from taking a walk around my neighborhood. And here's another one called I Went for a Walk and Brought Home a Poem. So there I was again, prowling the waste lots. Instead of working, I was working out, i.e. wandering around the neighborhood. Along the railroad right-of-way, I found native grasses drying in the sun, seed heads ripe and ready for the gathering, some kind of grama grass, side oats or blue, and purple threon and little blue stem. I brought a bag to carry all this home with seeds of flowers whose names are impolite, less than politically correct. Oh well, Mexican hat and Indian blanket are, nevertheless, innocent and beautiful. I pray they sprout and root and bloom and seed my prairie restoration project, what some will call the weeds in my front yard. I sometimes feel pretty paranoid about what the cops must think about me when I'm on my walks if they observed me. So our featured reader tonight is David Thornberry, who hosted last time when I was under the weather. David is an artist and poet, and he teaches drawing, painting, and design at Austin Community College. And he produces, like this one here, these beautiful chapbooks with hand-painted covers. Are they individually hand-painted? Or
They are.
They're individually hand-painted covers on his books, and so I just really like that hands-on artistic approach to creating books. And this month he's going to be publishing his 30th chapbook called Too Soon. Please make welcome.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Malvern. Hey, guys. This is my 30th chapbook, and probably Too Soon probably won't be out too soon. It probably won't be out on time, actually. I've still got to do a bunch of editing and a bunch of stuff like that, but it will be available on my website, davidthornberry.com. Anybody's interested, just look me up. Hey, look me up and get one. So my poetry is untitled, and it's short-ish and goes by kind of quickly. I don't title things because I always feel like I don't sign my paintings either, same reason. I always feel like it's kind of an aesthetic problem. If I put a title on it, that's another line, and so it somehow doesn't work, so I just leave them with no heads. Let me just read you a few things. You'll get the idea. Your soul is your soul when you are alive, but when you die, if you leave your soul behind, like a dirty t-shirt on the bathroom floor, it gets demoted to ghost. To all my Jesus-loving friends, let's be clear. I don't want to be saved for the afterlife. I want to be used up by this one. Thank you. I have a lot of faith in nature. Whatever is probably right, is supposed to be. But one place I'm pretty sure the system screwed up. There ought to be blue horses. Doesn't it seem like there should be blue horses?
Friends, Mark.
Yeah, Friends Mark made them, but still, we need some real blue horses. I believe in reincarnation. I think we get to choose what we want to be next time around. I'm counting on reincarnation. But it seems that if what I believe is true, the world by now would be populated by nothing but horses, dolphins, and eagles. Our dogs bark at the two dogs barking across the street 2 houses down. And those 2 dogs are barking at another dog 4 houses up the block who started the whole thing. I like when, on a sunny afternoon, I sit out here in the yard in this old yard sale chair, and the dogs bark from their respective yards at each other, to each other, all safe behind their fences. Bark, 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 woof, woof, like the spaceships do on Star Trek, hailing frequencies open, sending messages across the void. Bark, bark, woof, woof. I sit, I listen in my chair, behind the pine tree, I'm the captain. It seemed so simple. Place the cup over the bee, slide the piece of paper between the cup rim and the window so that the bee can't escape the cup, carry the bee out into the yard, and let him go. But something went wrong. I think the piece of paper acted like a little guillotine, and somehow some important piece came off the bee. He was still alive, sort of rolled up and rolling around inside the cup beside the important piece. He still ended up in the yard, but I had to dump him out and smear away his life into the first green grass of spring. And today, but just today, is ruined. Because Jerry Lewis died this year, I know, I'm a Jerry Lewis nerd, but Jerry Lewis died this year. He's a big hero of mine. So I wanted to read this. This is an old one, but it's about me when I actually met Jerry Lewis. I met him at the Darty Art Center, completely by accident. It was amazing. Sometimes I'm convinced that that's the whole reason of this incarnation was just so I could be there to meet Jerry Lewis. Meeting Jerry Lewis was pretty cool. I didn't expect to see Jerry Lewis, one of my heroes, when I went to teach my painting class last Wednesday. Almost like something in a dream. I went to the art center and Jerry Lewis was there. But there he was at the school, giving a speech about chronic pain, which he suffers from after a pratfall 40 years ago. He was there, shorter than I thought, grayer than I thought, and really friendly. Said hiya and thank you to my rushed and crazy, I really think you're great and I've been a fan since I was a kid and you were really great helping out kids with muscular dystrophy. And my ex-wife and I used to argue about who was a bigger genius, a better director, who made greater movies, you or Charlie Chaplin, and I always said you. I still think so, even though Chaplin was great, but wow, the Nutty Professor. And the Disorderly Orderly, now that's genius. And those years with Dean, those are legendary. And I've seen films of your shows with Dean at the Copa in Vegas and you guys throwing photos out of upstairs windows above a theater in New York. I forget which one, but wow, you are really great. One of my heroes, really. Wish I could have seen one of those shows, but I wasn't even born yet. But your movies are more personal, more your own statement, and genius anyway, and I've seen them all. But you are like a force of nature, pure and clear, refreshing and stimulating, like cold mountain water. Your genius will be recognized forever, long after the good hair and big tits show business people are forever gone. And Jerry was keeping eye contact and smiling the whole time as I continued to shake his hand way after I should have stopped. He was really nice to me too, because he had these big muscle guys with him, you know, just kind of keeping an eye on everything. And he didn't call them on me, and he should have. He definitely should have. Let's see here. This is, I think this is the last chapbook I did. 20, there's probably one after this. Anyway, this is Climb Down, and this is what they all look like. Running Dog Press, puts them out, that's my press. You know how clowns sometimes are dressed like hobos? Patched coats, broke-brimmed hats, 3-day growth of beard, 2 big pants and shoes they found somewhere. They're supposed to be poor. 1 suspender, mismatched gloves, a big red nose from drinking cheap wine. I think that's why they all come in 1 car. They can only afford 1 old and banged up Volkswagen Beetle, green and red and yellow, and possibly too small. If you think about it, it's really kind of sad. This is about something that haunts me sometimes in the middle of the night. I'll still wake up and think about this. It's just haunting, and now it's your turn. When a climber dies on Everest, the other climbers leave the body up there. Bringing a dead body back to base camp is difficult and dangerous enough that it might create more dead bodies. So they call him Green Boots, and he's lying up there, blanketed by snowdrifts, in his little alcove, lying on his side, as hard and cold as the rocks around him. No one knows for sure who he is. Maybe this guy from 1996, maybe that guy from 1994. But his body, with its boots, stands out against the snow and serves as a progress marker / profoundly silent Ezekiel. Sometimes I lie in my warm bed deep in the middle of the night and think Green Boots is up there right now. This is just a mystery. If anybody can figure out the sense of this, I'd be glad to listen to their solution. On a plane between Ohio and Texas a few years ago, I eavesdropped on 2 women sitting behind me. One of the women, in what I would learn was a Venezuelan accent, was telling how she had saved money for years, working part-time and raising children to travel from her home in Caracas to New York City to see Frank Sinatra in concert at Carnegie Hall. It had been a dream of hers for a long time. She said she had a flight booked and a concert seat reserved, a good seat but not great, and was ready to go, just her, without her husband because of the expense, packed to go at the end of the week when she heard on the news that Frank Sinatra had died. She said the story was that he had died after a show from a heart attack at Carnegie Hall backstage. The woman started to quietly cry telling this part of the story. She said she got all her money back, but her heart was broken. She never got to see Sinatra in concert, never got to touch the sleeve of his tuxedo jacket after the show, maybe. I found out later, telling friends about the woman's story, that Frank Sinatra hadn't performed for 2 years before he died, that he had died from a heart attack, but it was in Los Angeles in the emergency room of a hospital, not backstage in New York. I was, and still am, confused. Was the Venezuelan woman making the whole thing up? Did she have the wrong world-famous legendary crooner? Did Frank Sinatra die twice, once in each of 2 separate realities? She couldn't have had tickets, couldn't have made those plans, couldn't have missed seeing him by only a few days. When she heard he had died, he had already been very sick, hadn't been on stage for a long, long time. She was really sad, crying, telling the story about missing a Sinatra concert that never was. I don't know, I can't figure it out. I'm watching the barber behind me in the mirror in front of me. He's taking a bit off the top with scissors. by holding that bit between the length of 2 fingers and clipping it off evenly. And before each snip, unconsciously, he cuts the empty air just to get the feel of it. He sizzes, he snips the space just above and to the right of the upraised hair. And people playing tennis touch the ball to the racket just before actually hitting that ball to serve across the net. I've watched them do it on the courts at the park while I'm walking ranger. It's not exactly practicing, it's more like part of actually doing the thing. Snip, snip, touch, touch. And this is a poem that I wrote just a while ago, right after Trump was elected, and well, not really. And there was something here called Poets Resist or something like that. It was very, do you remember Poet?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wrote this for that.
Against Trump, I think it was called.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, Poets Against Trump, yeah. And this is from then, and I think it's still relevant. Saw a car once driving along, the mom and dad in front, kids in the back, and their forgotten about dog still tied up to the rear bumper. Tied up from the picnic or something they had all just left. And he was running as fast as he could not to be dragged. Running. The car stopped at a traffic light. And all of us along the street who had seen this happening ran to the stopped car and started pounding on the windows and yelling, "Your dog, your dog, your dog," is tied to the bumper. "Your dog, your dog, your dog." And we saved him. And we saved the dog because we pounded and yelled, because we made noise. Now is the time, if ever there was one, to pound and yell, to make noise, to save the dog. Thank you very much.